what major you want to study. So I'm pretty certain, or I've narrowed it down a couple of majors. I know but want more opportunities to explore more majors, or I am truly undecided.
Great, it's coming in. We'll launch the results as well for everyone to view at the end. I mean, right after the poll. Just another few seconds. Okay.
Great, so we can see that some of you are fairly certain. The majority of you have narrowed it down to a couple options. And then we have a good mixture of people that are exploring and truly undecided. So welcome. We hope that we're helpful to all of you today as we go through. The slide that we're showing you right now is maybe how some of you are feeling. There's lots of different options as you're exploring college, particularly if you're going into your senior year. I'm 100% sure that many of you have heard the question that is asked all the time: what are you planning to major in? And that is, it can be tricky. So some of you are pretty sure you know what you want, what you're telling people. I actually have two sons who went through the college process. One of them knew exactly what he wanted to study. The other one was very undecided. And a little story about him from me, what I found interesting is, instead of saying he was undecided, he started just saying to people, I think I'm going to major in economics, because when he would say, I'm undecided, he would get a really strange look from a lot of people. And so he figured it was just easier to say economics, just so he would have an answer for them, which I thought was really funny, that he almost felt like there was a stigma about being undecided. And I hope you're not feeling that way. I hope you're looking at this as an opportunity to really explore what's out there, and to be comfortable that undecided is okay. But there are some things that we do need to talk a little bit about as you're looking at the college process. And so the next slide that we have is an interesting diagram, because it's a diagram of majors that people have studied at Bucknell as undecided, and then the careers and the jobs that they've gone into. So for people who have been undecided at Bucknell, there's lots of different directions that they go. And even though this isn't a conversation about Bucknell specifically, I do like to use it as a reference point, because I know for certain that people that have applied at Bucknell have gone on lots of different directions, and they've discovered their paths while they were in college. And college is a great time to explore different areas. So it really is fine to be undecided, but maybe some of you would like to think about some other directions that you might be going to. So some of you may have an idea of an area that you'd like to study. Some of you might be thinking about something that eventually you're going to change, and some of you might truly be undecided. We know from just talking to our students that sometimes they change their majors when they're in college. Even if you come in with an idea of what you want to do, and maybe on your application you put down a major that you're interested in, college is an opportunity to explore different classes, talk to faculty members, explore classes that maybe you didn't have the opportunity to do in high school. So many times college students do change their majors, or they may double majors. So there are many options for students. For example, at Bucknell, we have over 65 majors for students to choose from. So though you may have studied a few of those options in high school, actually there's many different options that are out there that you may discover when you go to college, and you may discover through taking an elective or talking to a faculty member or doing research. There's lots of different ways that you may find the direction that you head in. For example, our class that's coming in the fall, the first year class of our Bucknell group, for the Bucknell students, 17% of them applied as undecided. And then of those, we admitted about, of the 28% that were admitted, they were undecided. And then of the enrolled students, 22% of them were undecided. So when you think about that, almost a quarter of our entering students coming in the fall are enrolled as undecided or undeclared students, meaning that they haven't chosen their major yet. So they're coming into Bucknell with some possible options, but they're not quite sure what that is. So when we talk about, can coming in undeclared hurt my application, the answer to that, as we'll talk a little bit more, is it depends. We'll get into a little more details. But let's talk about first how you might narrow down your interests. So Jenny's going to be putting a link to a survey that's hosted by Goshen College. And Jenny took a number of different surveys and felt that this one was a really good way. It's a quick survey to do. So Jenny's going to put the link up on the chat, and we're going to let you take a few minutes to answer the questions. There's, I think, 20 or 25 very, very quick questions. Excuse me, but when you get the results, it's one way to help, excuse me, one way to help you narrow down your choices. So we'll take a minute and see if we can get that survey up for you. Okay, so hopefully you've worked your way through the quiz, but if you haven't, we've given you the link, and you can certainly go in there at another time and work on that as well. But here's just some of the examples of what the quiz will show you, and it just helps to give you some idea of maybe some directions that you may want to consider heading. And it's just a way to kind of point you in some direction. So Jenny, do we have a poll now about the quiz coming up?
Yes, I'm going to launch the poll now.
Okay, so we're going to kind of take a pulse check and see what you thought about the quiz.
All right, I'll end the poll in about 3 seconds. Okay. There, Barbara, the results are in.
Awesome. So we're seeing that there's an interesting, almost half of you were surprised by the results. And that's why tools like this are, can be good resources for students. Other resources that you can use are things like your high school counselor or your college advisor, your high school teacher, and the territory representatives from the different colleges that you may be looking at. So at the end, we'll show you some more resources. And also because this is being recorded, you'll be able to go on our website and click on some of the links once we post this. But you can do some great Google searches as well. But it's really important that you do a lot of looking around as you're thinking of different resources that can help you. So certainly doing searches on your computer, talking to staff members at both your high school and at colleges, going onto websites and looking at people that are leaders in their field and seeing what their backgrounds were and how did they get there. And I think you'll see some very interesting ways that people that have gone to college and what they've studied in college versus what they ended up having as careers. So as you're looking at colleges and universities as an undecided student, one of the things to think about is what does that college require for me as I'm pursuing different majors at the school. So every school may have some different ways that they handle when you're going to be declaring your major and what the requirements are for those majors. So for example, some schools may rely very heavily on kind of what we call gen ed or the general education courses in the beginning, and then you start working on your major later, and you do have a smattering of free electives that are here and there. Other schools will start very quickly on your major. The general education or core curriculum courses will be woven in through that major, and then you'll have electives throughout that as well. So Bucknell is actually a mixture of these two. What we offer for some of our students is for some of the students that are quickly jumping into their majors, such as in engineering. They start off fairly quickly on their majors. Students that are in arts and sciences or management may start with some of their major requirements, and they may also be taking some of their core curriculum classes. So it's important to look at a college's catalog of some of the different offerings that they have, and many of them will spell out the curriculums that are offered for the particular majors. So one of the things to think about is, as you are thinking about what direction you're going to be heading, is to say, well, when is the school, for the schools I'm looking at, when are they asking me to declare a major? So at Bucknell, because we're a university, we have 3 colleges. For the College of Arts and Sciences and the Freeman College of Management, students in those majors formally declare their major in the 2nd semester of their sophomore year. For our College of Engineering students, they declare their major at the end of their 1st semester. So why I bring that up, it's important as you're looking at different majors to consider when the colleges you're looking at are asking you to declare your major. There's some majors that it's very important that you start off in those majors fairly quickly, such as engineering, that is fairly structured so that you can graduate within 4 years. Other programs give you more time, like in arts and sciences, to try different courses and majors, and then in your 2nd semester of sophomore year, you'll declare your major. The thing to remember is that you'll still need to fulfill certain requirements so that you can graduate in 4 years as well. So though you can change your major, you will need to be aware of the college's graduation requirements so that you're fitting them into your 4-year plan. Now, sometimes students are bringing in course credits, so maybe they're taking college level courses, or they're taking community college courses. They may be getting AP credits or IB program credits. You might be in a dual enrollment program, and those will all also work towards your degree for certain places. And it's good to find out from the school how those credits will fit into your graduation plans. And that might open up your schedule a little bit to try different majors. For Bucknell, I do want to go back to the double majoring. A lot of people ask us about double majoring. And at Bucknell, you would apply to Bucknell in one major, and then while you're here, you will decide if you want a double major, and then you will start working towards those classes in that 2nd major. Many of our students also have majors and minors. So that's something to think about. If you have multiple interests, perhaps you're going to go one direction with a major, and then maybe you'll study a minor or a concentration in another area. The other piece I want to talk a little bit about is we're going back to the initial question we had, will applying undecided hurt me? So generally the answer to the question is, it depends. It depends which major you're considering going into. Some scholarships are tied to your major. So for example, if you maybe are getting a scholarship which is tied into, as an example, a math scholarship, and then you change your major, you may not be eligible for that scholarship anymore. So think about some of the scholarship opportunities that might be tagged to a particular major at the school the schools you're looking at. All of this to say that as you're applying, looking at different schools, it's really good to take good notes on each place so that you have an idea of how applying may affect your decision process, where where you're applying to and what the decision may be. For example, at Bucknell, the Freeman College of Management is a direct admit program. So for the Freeman College of Management, you can apply undecided, but you would need to apply directly into the college, the Freeman College of Management, as an undecided major. And those students, once you're in the Freeman College of Management, you can transfer to another college at Bucknell, such as the College of Arts and Sciences, but students in arts and sciences and engineering cannot move into the Freeman College of Management later. So it's important to keep track of each of your schools that you're looking at to see what restrictions they may have about transferring into programs later. I know our College of Engineering likes to say to students, if you're 51% sure that you're interested in engineering, you can apply as an undecided engineering major. but you should apply into the College of Engineering, because that way they'll start you off with the engineering courses you need to graduate within 4 years. It's a little more difficult to move into it later. Students can do that, but you can always move out of engineering into arts and sciences. It's a little more difficult to move into engineering later on to get the requirements that you need. So it's just important. There's a lot of caveats to think about. So yes, you can apply undecided. As we showed you before, about a quarter of the Bucknell students come in undecided, either undecided engineering, undecided management, or undecided arts and sciences. And that's a valid way to go. But at Bucknell, because we have the 3 colleges, we do ask students to choose at least somewhat of a path that they would take once they were here. So I know Jenny's been fielding some questions in the chat room. I'll see if there's any that she would like to have answered for me, or if she feels that most of the questions have been answered.
Yes, Barbara, I had a question. There's a lot of questions coming in, and I think one of the questions that I just saw was, as an international student, is it worse for me to apply undecided?
There is no difference for our international students than our U.S. citizen students about applying undecided. And we have a broad range of majors that our international students can apply to or apply as undecided. So at Bucknell, it's perfectly fine as an international student to apply undecided.
Okay. And then I think one thing that sometimes is confusing when I present about Bucknell and applying to Bucknell in the different colleges, I think maybe if you can clarify the application process, like when you're applying to Bucknell, are you applying to 3 schools? Are you applying to 1 school? How does that work? And then, you know, can you switch schools? Will you be considered for other majors if you don't get into a specific school? I think there's some Bucknell specific questions that are coming in. So if you can kind of share that with everyone, I think that'd be great.
I'm glad that question was asked, because Jenny, you're correct that that's something that comes up quite a bit, because every school is different. So as you probably are realizing, the common application and the coalition application will be available for you starting on August 1st. Both applications for Bucknell have a supplement, and on the supplement, it's a very short section with additional questions, but one of the questions is to let us know what your first choice major is, and then if you have a second choice major, what that is. So we ask you first to choose what college, which of the 3 colleges you're interested in. So either the Freeman College of Management, College of Arts and Sciences, or the College of Engineering. And then when you choose one of those, the drop-down menu will give you a list of all of the majors that are offered in that college. So when you do that, you also have the option to choose a second choice major. And so at Bucknell, we look at your first choice major, and in some cases, if there's students who are good fits academically for Bucknell, but we're running out of room in their first choice major, we could offer them their second choice major. And when we do that, we include a letter in your admit packet that says, we know you applied for this, but we're offering you your second choice major. And that may happen in a situation where, for some of the majors that have less room in them, one example being biomedical engineering, as we have less spots in that program than some of our other engineering programs, we see students that may say, well, my first choice is biomedical, but my second choice is chemical engineering. And so they're happy to enroll in either of those programs. And so if biomed gets full, then we would offer them chemical engineering. That's just one example of some of the ways that we use second choice majors. When you apply to Bucknell, we do ask you to choose the colleges, which college you're interested in, because we are interested in having certain enrollments based on the colleges, based on Bucknell's structure. So about 65% of our enrolled students are in arts and sciences. About 15% are in the Freeman College of Management, and about 20% are in the College of Engineering. So that's the setup that we have, and every school has different enrollment goals that they have for their various, if they're divided into colleges or the university. And so it's good to get some idea. You can usually find it on the college's website about their breakdown of their enrolled students by major sometimes, or by college as well. So if you are interested in the Freeman College of Management, for example, that's a direct admit program. If you are in the College of Arts and Sciences or Engineering, you can still take classes in the Freeman College of Management. We now have a minor that you can study. If you're in engineering, you can take classes in the Freeman College of Management or Arts and Sciences. And if you're in Arts and Sciences, you could take classes in management or in engineering. So there is flexibility of students taking classes in other areas, but primarily your major is where probably a third of your classes will be within that college.
Barbara, there are a few questions that are coming in about engineering related majors. Are students able to double major in the College of Engineering and Arts and Science? And maybe talking about 5-year dual programs, I think is an interest as well.
Sure.
And also, sorry, just because we're on the subject of engineering, can students come in engineering undecided or come in one engineering and then switch in the College of Engineering to another engineering major?
Sure. So for engineering, our students who are coming in as engineers take Engineering 100, which their first semester, which introduces them to all the engineering disciplines we have. So if you come in one particular engineering area, at the end of that semester, you'll formally declare your major. You can change to other engineering majors, to other engineering major options. The one that may be difficult is the biomed program. If the biomedical engineering, if that is full, some students may not get the option to move into that later. So that is good if you're thinking about biomedical engineering. It is good to apply directly into that program. You can switch to other engineering options after Engineering 100, or you can switch out of engineering into the College of Arts and Sciences. In terms of double majoring in engineering, we do have a number of 5-year programs. So we have a dual program run through the College of Engineering, which is you would get a BS degree in engineering and a Bachelor of Management degree. So that's a 5-year dual degree program between engineering and management. We also have a 5-year program between the College of Engineering and the College of Arts and Sciences. So you would get a BS in an engineering discipline and a BA in the College of Arts and Sciences. And then we have a 5-year program in engineering, which is an undergraduate and graduate degree program. So you would, in 5 years, you get your undergraduate degree in engineering, a BS, and then you get an MS, or Master of Science degree in engineering. In terms of double majoring outside of the College of Arts and Sciences, students that are in management can have a double major in the College of Arts and Sciences as well. And Arts and Sciences students can have double majors within Arts and Sciences. So there are multiple options for students to do. And the way that we handle that is once you come to campus and you start working with your advisor, you map out your plan for taking classes over the 4 or 5 years. If it's a 5-year program, but we do have a 4-year graduation requirement for 4-year programs. And so it's important that you map out the intended courses that you would take over those 4 years so that you can graduate in time.
Okay, so there's another question. I think this is a really fitting question given how we talked about, especially for Bucknell specific, that you have to apply to certain colleges. So the question came from a student where they asked, is it more competitive to apply to a specific major? And are there limited spots for each of the major?
You know, every college has enrollment goals, and those can change year to year. Some of the majors, like sometimes we see more interest in management and sometimes there's less interest. It's tough to know in any given year how many applications we'll get in certain areas. We do have some restrictions, and you may see this at other schools as well. For example, in the biology related programs, because of limitations in lab space, we would like to be able to take more students in those areas, but we can offer the smaller class sizes and the interaction with faculty members. Unfortunately, sometimes we don't have enough room for all the students who would want to be in bio-related programs. That can change every year, but there are some programs, for example, engineering, they do have some limitations because of the amount of labs that are required, and our faculties teach those labs, that we do have to keep some control over the enrollment goals for each of those areas. In general, the vast majority of majors at Bucknell, we have plenty of room for students in those majors, and it's tough to say in any given year where some of the enrollment pressures may be. So my recommendation is that you apply to the majors or undecided that you're interested in. If you get into those, there's always room for undecided students to move into some of the majors. And that's how we work it at Bucknell. We leave room for our undecided majors to be able to get into some of the other majors. On the other hand, if you have some idea that you're interested in engineering or management, it's best to apply directly into those colleges.
Awesome. There's another question that is specific to, let's see, the question was, if you don't get accepted to your first and you are accepted to your second choice major, are you able to switch into your first choice later on? Or is it, is it only to a certain major? Is it specified? I think the option is, realizing that's what I put down as my second choice major, took some classes, realized I don't like it. Am I able to switch my major?
Right, that's another question of it really depends. If you had, say, Freeman College of Management as your first choice, and then you had economics as your second choice, there's no to move into the Freeman College of Management to get the Bachelor of Science in Business Administration degree. You still can take classes in there, but you wouldn't have the opportunity at Bucknell, at least, to move into that college. It depends on the university again. For Bucknell, it depends on how much room is available, and that you would work with the dean of each of the colleges that you would be in to see if you could move into those programs. In general, though, it's not a good idea to what we call backdoor it. So put down something that you feel might be less competitive and then look to switch into something more competitive later, because we don't know if we would have room for students in those areas. And so you'd be taking a chance. So one of the things that we do say when we ask you to put down your second choice major is, we do have the question, if you were admitted to your second choice major, or tell us what your second choice major that you would be okay being admitted into. So we do ask you to be upfront that you would like to be in that. If you decide to change to another major that has room in it, that's fine, but we just can't guarantee all the time that there's unlimited space in each of the majors for students to move into.
Great questions. One of the questions that just came in, I think I can answer, was, does it matter in the admissions process if you apply as soon as the application opens? And just to give Barbara a little bit of break, I'll take that. And I would say, honestly, it doesn't hurt. I would encourage it. If your application is done, you're ready to go, then don't hold off. Because I think a lot of times, people wait. I know most colleges get the bulk of their application within like that last few hours of the deadline. So that once the deadline passes, the admissions officers have like thousands of applications to read now, because now we have a time frame that we have to read it in. So if you can submit it earlier, that means there's going to be a lot more time for admission counselors to actually read your application. I'm not saying that people don't read your application, but once again, every institution is so different. Some institutions that have 4,000 applications versus 10,000 versus 60,000 plus over 100,000. So it really does depend on the institution. But just because we're talking about Bucknell, I would say, for us, we definitely are able to spend a lot more time. I think we're pretty generous in general with the amount of time we spend on each application, because we believe that if you take the time to submit an application to Bucknell, we will take the time to read your application and everything that you submit. But I would say, because we're not on crunch time, we can definitely take a lot more time. So I would say if you're done and it's, you're ready for it, don't hold back, send it in. And that would also give you time then to look at scholarships too. I know our session's not talking about scholarships, but once again, that will give you more time than to look at, are there different scholarships available at this particular institution that I didn't know about, because I was so busy working on applications, that now I can take a little breather and look at applications about scholarships and, reaching out about merit scholarships and different programs as well. So it is highly encouraged. If it's ready, if it's done, please submit it. I think it works in your favor and your benefit. So there's
just one thing I did want to jump in here a little bit, because we do offer early decision at Bucknell, and I know sometimes people are concerned that there may or may not be room for them in regular decision in some of the more competitive majors. But the way that we work our enrollment model is that we reserve a certain number of spaces in early decision for all the majors. So early decision 1 and early decision 2. And then a regular decision, we still have room. So we really work it out so that majors are not getting filled up early on. So it's perfectly fine to apply regular decision, especially in some of those more competitive majors. They don't fill up early in early decision or quickly in early decision. So if you want to go early decision, that's great. But if you are still undecided, or you're thinking it's a competitive major, a regular decision is fine as well.
Okay. Let's see. This is an excellent question. They say it's a bit off topic, but I think this is a really neat question. If I apply to Bucknell in August and want to retake the ACT in September, with all the craziness that's happening with testing and cancellations, would I be able to update my application if the new score is better than my previous score?
Absolutely. So the way we are test optional now, so we've been test optional since last year. We also take self-reported test scores. So you can either put them on your application, or you can send them to us later. You can submit them later. We're constantly adding information to your file. So even if you initially submit your application in August, and then either you have new test scores or you have new activities, you can always send us updated information all the way through your application deadline. So early decision 1 is November 15th, early decision 2 and regular decision are January 15th. And I saw the question that somebody asked about whether we have early action. We only have early decision. We do not offer early action.
This is the other question that came in. What are some of the competitors? Now, if you apply to management, do you need to declare a major within the school?
We have undecided management, so if you need to declare a major, all you have to do is let us know that you're interested in the Freeman College of Management. Generally, the admit rates for the Freeman College of Management and the College of Engineering are fairly similar. I mentioned the bio-related majors. We have a lot of students who are interested in pre-health areas, and so the bio-related fields sometimes can be a little more competitive. But in general, the admit rate pretty much is very similar across the board. So still going back to the initial discussion about competitiveness, it's just really hard to know in each school. We don't even know how competitive a major will be as applications are coming in. So we only know it kind of after the fact. So it's important to think about what you like to do and what areas, even if you don't know specifically what specific major that you'd like to be in, it is important to at least think of which college, at least at Bucknell, which college you might be interested in. At least so that you get your foot in the door in those places, and then you can always move later out of management or out of engineering, but it's difficult or not possible to move in later.
So there was a question that came out about test optional and how we view applications. I could share a little bit about that to give Barbara a little bit of a break from talking. The question was, if you submit as test optional and don't take the ACT or SAT, what are the important parts of the application sections and how do you weigh those? For example, the essay versus the grade. I think for Bucknell, even though we went test optional this year, I feel like we've kind of been test optional in a lot of ways because we were very holistic. You know, we're not one of those institutions that put students in a bin or, you know, category if you reach a certain test scores. We've, you know, have done that. So I would say it gives us a more opportunity to view the application holistically. I wouldn't say one weighs more than the other. I think going test option, the whole point was to go test optional was to allow the students, for saying the test doesn't reflect my day in and day out, everyday academic abilities. Because there's plenty of students who have tech anxiety and et cetera. So, you know, when we review applications at Bucknell specifically, we are looking at everything. We are looking at your essay. I mean, I think essay across the board, regardless if it's Bucknell or if it's a test optional school or not, is really important. Just the fact that everything else on the application that you're submitting to an institution is very objective. It's very number-based. It's transition, you know, it's about the your transcript. So it's all numbers, but the essay portion is where you come alive, right? Your personality comes through. It's like, oh my gosh, you're not just an applicant on a piece of paper, but you're a person. And, you know, we're kind of seeing like where your personality fits. I mean, I'm guilty of, you know, sometimes writing notes after reading an app saying this person would be a great friend to have in the hallway, right? And that has nothing to do with your SAT score, your GPA, what kind of classes you took. So, you know, I can't say that there's, you know, you more than the other. However, I mean, if you have to, of course, grades are important. So we're not going to neglect the fact that just because we're a test optional school, we're just like, you're in, and you're in, and you're in. You know, it's not, we wish, but the fact is we don't want to set our students up for failure. So we want to make sure academically that we can see that if you're taking challenging courses, if your schools offer APs, IBs, honors, that you are taking those classes, because high school, I mean, college gets harder, it doesn't get easier than high school. So we want to know that you are ready to kind of take on the next step. Being that we are a liberal arts institution as well, there's a lot of writing portion, right? Writing is really important as a part of your learning process. So we want to know that your 4 years at Bucknell would be an academic fit and you're not in the library, you're not at a tutoring center all 4 years, because that's a pretty miserable, you know, 4 years of college. We want students that graduate from Bucknell to say, you know what, that was the best 4 years. I never want to leave college, and not say, oh my gosh, that was the most horrendous 4 years I never want to do again. So once again, even though we are a test optional institution, we will look at, you know, your grades to make sure academically it is a good fit. But, you know, essay is important because that just shows us who you are as an individual. Let's see if there's another question that just came in that said, would you negatively view an applicant if their high school has a redo policy that allows students to retake exams?
I am not aware of, sorry about that. I am not aware of coming into our review process. And what I would say is whatever is the policy at your high school is what we are reviewing your application for. So we're not comparing you to students in the high school across town or across the country or globally. We're looking at you in the context of what's offered at your school. And if that's your school's policy, then that's what we have to work with. So I would not say that has been an issue at all. Jenny, I'm thinking that we probably should wrap up. Now we're getting to 4 o'clock now, at least on the East Coast. You have some information. So here's our phone number for our office. So 570-577-3000 or admissions@bucknell.edu is our email. And you can call or email us with general questions that you may have, and we try to get back to people within 24 hours throughout the year. So it's a good resource. The other thing that you can do is you can go online and you can see who your admissions counselor is. So at least if you go into the Bucknell website, you can type in Bucknell University admissions counselors, and you will see a link that says find your admissions counselor, and you'll see each of us. So Jenny's contact information is there, as well as mine. And every region of the world has a territory manager at Bucknell, and many colleges have the same model. So if you're interested in learning more about applying Undecided to a particular school, certainly contact your territory manager if you have questions about how that college handles that. Your territory manager at each of the schools should be able to help. We have a website, for example, you can look at websites, you can go to college fairs, you can meet with your school counselor as well, so you can get more information that way. And then we have some resource, we have some blog, like an admissions blog that you can look at. There's a number of different resource links that we have. Hold on one second here. So those are listed at the end of our presentation. For example, information on choosing a college major. You can use that Goshen College survey that we gave before. And there's lots of information online that you can learn about getting directions on being undecided or possibly eventually choosing a major. So again, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate your time today, and hopefully you found it informative. As I mentioned, we will have all of these eventually on our website. So there's different topics that we've covered over the last few weeks. We also have 3 sessions which are going on. One is about our College of Arts and Sciences, one is about our College of Engineering, and one's about the Freeman College of Management. So those are great ways to find out more about Bucknell. And if Bucknell ends up being on your list, Jenny and I look forward to reviewing your application. In the meantime, have a good summer and enjoy your college search. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.